Thank you very much. Why it doesn't move? Or down? Okay. This is the message I'll be driving to, and the conclusion. The kind of participation in 4P, which is the kind of personalized medicine I'll be concentrating on, shows whether you are treated as an individual or as a person. Personal medicine envisions the repositioning of people on a social matrix, already been analogized to a Google map, comprised of a fixed, easy to obtain, and often commercialized, we heard, biomarkers. This repositioning is black boxed by information technology. Hence, we witness a partially personalized version which is especially susceptible to bias and abuse. Moreover, personalized medicine's technologies posit moral distances and proximities based on individual omics. Biomarkering might then bear on civil status. Ethical versions of personalized medicine depend on conceptual clarification, awareness of conflicts of interest, and high levels of participation, especially in relation to the extensions of moral distance and proximity, and I will explain. So I've been saying more or less whether paradigm or not we'll discuss. There is the 20th century biomedicine. We are trying to understand principal mechanism of causality and ignore the irrelevant data and apply this understanding at the bedside, whether we call it wisdom or not. Refinement of metaphysical nosologies. This is one humble version of personalized medicine. So breast cancer develops into receptor positive and negative, which go on and go on. Governments, ideologies, and career scientists set the direction of research. It's usually non-for-profit, even though you dream of selling your, many did not patent and sell. Medicine is committed to social change, the hygiene movement, the infant welfare movement, and so forth. And recently to the biopsychosocial holism, which is patient-centered care, as we heard. It's about needs and values. When we go to a more radical version of personal medicine, we're talking about continuous collection of huge amounts of data from individuals, applying very sophisticated algorithms in search of correlations. This is the black boxing, what we call here the new empiricism, or back to Hippocratic way of thinking. We put in and see what works. One person trial is an example. Black boxing inspired by information technology consumerism. It's not that personalized medicine came first. We are already framed by the Googleization of life itself. And research collapses into the clinic as Facebook is trying out things, and if it doesn't work, they may say sorry and change it. Research, or even care, depends on the solicitation of high-risk investment capital. There's always been the issue of conflict of interest. There have been those who are selling medical interventions and the medical good, and now companies need more and more to sell their ideas to investors and then to patients. Many PM enterprises are committed to one narrow biomedical goal, which is another problem. When we have a big pharma corporation, it tries a few drugs, it knows some will not succeed, it's part of the business plan, but you have your one shtick game, you are highly biased unconsciously against failure in experiments, and you are more reckless in trying to sell it. We are talking here on systemalism, on molecularly individuated care and quantifiable conceptualizations of health. And I wish to look at the streamlining with emphasis where participation goes if I apply Leroy's Hood scheme. Give us your data is one mode of participation. It goes into this black boxing of IT processing, a little similar to ancient times oracles, but there are humans programming this oracle that will tell you what to do. Then you receive action items of self-care in your given circumstances, in your life, what you can do. Then you comply. This is the second point of participation, and convert other to comply that Leroy Hood is writing about. We didn't discuss it less. And then you get better wellness. As an individual, you are distinct from others as a locus of output and input. However, there is a rift, this is the black box, between the person and his or her wellness. The reward for participation is externally given. The health, the body, is extracted, alienated for one's narrative of life. As an individual, you do not control the extent of the system in which you are processed. One body, family, whole of humanity, this issue of control groups. It is about the extent of whole in holistic medicine. Do people's values have a say in such a matter? Do they shape wellness, or vice versa? What Nicholas was called somatic individuality, that the way the machine, like Google, tells you what you want. Is it what you want? It makes you want it. Is precision medicine also accurate in relation to human goals? And in participations, there are a few models. Barbara discusses them at the end of the book. I take here the oldest one, is Sherry Arnstein's ladder of citizen participation, formulated in the late 1960s. And the lowest level of participation is manipulation therapy. That were the days of paternalistic healthcare. And then a little upper, informing patient, consultation. We ask you, but we are not committed to listen to you. Placation, that we are committed to give you something even though is not central to what you care about. And the highest set of levels is partnership, delegated power, and citizen control. Now I wish to emphasize that this is not an anarchist presentation. It doesn't mean that the higher you go, the better it is, and citizen control is the best, but it is a model. It's important to realize what I added to this model in small scripts, that the lower levels are but discrete decisions with given frameworks. You have your life, you live in a neighborhood, you cannot change much, but you may choose or you may influence the hours your clinic is open, or you may choose a family doctor or not choose a family doctor. And the upper levels, from partnership up, they are integrative. It's about social deliberation, ultimate goals, and it's about determining the rules of the game. You also participate in the shaping and how decisions are made, not only particular decisions. So democratic participation marks persons as agents. This is about real personal things. They are partners to the shaping of society and to the setting of the rules of the game. Individuals' participation is low on the scale of citizen participation ladder. It is about compliance in relation to discrete small-scale issues. This creates much exposure to unchecked conflicts of interest and other harms. Now I'll try to apply this to streamlining, and we see that what we need here in participation is the upper level, something. Some participation in the way humans program the IT processing. It may not be difficult to obtain because these humans need healthcare as well, and they must not be alienated as information technologies for genuine human healthcare needs. And also participation in what society consider as wellness. It's a key issue. And we have to remember that neither doctor nor patient share decision with a black box. This is the alienation Shlomo was talking about. So we have three questions now at the theoretical part of my talk. Is wellness possible at all without significant participation? Human wellness, not animal welfare, which is different. Can black box wellness be integrated into narratives of meaningful life, into life of genuine freedom? Humans have meaningful life and they can weave narratives about them and discuss them. If everything is black box, that's what Jenny spoke and others regarding Hannah Arendt. If deep participation entails integration with narratives of meaningful life, how is participation possible in relation to black boxed basic goods? And the commercialization is a side issue. Let's take one concrete example, is gastric cancer. I took a review article for 2017, gastric cancer in the era of precision medicine. And in this review, the first talk about infection with Helicobacter pylori, and it belongs to a class of infectious-related cancers. These are the two bars. And on the left, we see the prevalence of infectious-related cancers in poor countries, on the right side, on what's called developed countries. And the lowest part in both has Helicobacter pylori. So we see that being poor increases your risk for all infectious-related cancer, and also for Helicobacter pylori, that is the largest share of. And we have research about it, deprivation. If you live in poor, crowded conditions as a boy, you are significantly and substantially higher risk for having Helicobacter pylori positive at the age where gastric cancer starts appearing. So what to do about gastric cancer? So we go to the experts, including PM experts, and this is the list of things on the menu. Reduce poverty and stress, provide immunity to Helicobacter pylori. So you let the poor remain poor, just give them vaccines. Improve diagnostic and treatments for Helicobacter infection, eradicate it early, detect pre-carcinogenic processes, prevent cancer, early detection of cancer, improve anti-cancer treatment. And we have to choose whom to give grant money, where to take your career, where to lead a corporate like Merck, along this menu. How do we proceed? So, in a basic, it's mentioned by others. We know fundamental cause theory formulated by Phelan and Link. They think for causes of morbidity and mortality that are behind causes. For example, diabetes leads to many other diseases, smoking to many others, and the most fundamental cause of all diseases is proven to be poverty, low socioeconomic status. And if we look at another review paper, Changing Trends in Stomach Cancer Throughout the World, there's a list of action items for society: economic improvement, improved food preservation, improved sanitation, and only one of these is on the precision medicine agenda, as I've been hearing. And we go back to this review paper that shows what breakthroughs have precision medicine had in relation to gastric cancer. They are all at the molecular level, and they are all in the treatment of those who already have gastric cancer. So de facto, the choice was to go late. So why is it this way? Is it something inherent to the ethos of personalized medicine? I've been reading Leroy Hood's paper and some others again and again. I haven't found anything in his vision sending us to go on treatment of those who are already cancer. Because personal medicine relies so much on black boxing, little can be said about causality and large-scale mechanisms. So there's a bias in the system. The new empiricism is about statistical correlations between digitalized information and digitalized outcomes in relation to individual body. The body as an organism is the black box system and its quantitative scientific wellness. So we let, especially in US and England, the free market reign. Free market not in the strict economic sense, but we want people to have ideas, that to come up with ideas, initiatives, and whoever finds a solution that works, we will adapt it. Right? If we find a way to eradicate Helicobacter pylori, we will go on it. We find for us whatever comes, we do. However, this free market is not value neutral from human influence, and there's a shift to business way of thinking. The Kraft acceleration, the Kraft family donated money for the promotion of precision medicine, and they gave it to Harvard Business School. It means something. With a shift to statistical correlations of digitalized information, there is little raw material for citizen participation to deal with. And we have to remember that part of the participation is oversight. And personalized medicine challenge is to show us how the Food and Drug Act that started the FDA will work here. Because if we license a medicine, there are ways to control for purity, for efficacy. But when we are talking about combinations of interventions, our bodies are the products. We need to do quality control on our bodies, not on the medicine, but on the whole list that the coaches might tell us to do and apply. So we are searching for alternatives within personalized medicine. It might make sense that intervention at the fundamental level would be more cost-effective. We've spoken it. Hence, the ethical questions I focus from now on arise:
When there is no difference in terms of cost effectiveness, at least as a thought experiment, very difficult to predict the ultimate outcome effects. I will show an example. And the cost-effective approach irritates moral sensibilities. And we have to remember that the more successful personal medicine will be, the more pressing the question. We have to think of all this list again and imagine a world in which medicine or personalized medicine offers us equally cost-effective solution at all of these levels. Now we have to choose. We have solution at all the levels. We don't have the money or the desire to intervene at all levels. What are we doing? So we'll take another example for occupational orthopedic injuries. Comparing in one study male nurse assistants with male physicians. And we find out the nurse assistants have the highest rate of occupational orthopedic disability among all occupations. The RIs relative to construction workers, relative to physicians is even higher. And the chief cause is lifting of moving patients, is the hidden side of healthcare. And we have to pay attention, the risk ratio of mortality, overall mortality, is almost twice. Why is this so? Because these people often come from a low socioeconomic status. So what to do with occupational risk? Screen workers for susceptibility to injury. You can use personal medicine to screen people, and those that have weak bodies will be prevented from working as male nurse assistants. And here's the point that we do not predict the outcome, because we may save these people for sure for orthopedic injuries, because these are the highest rates. But in our society, as we know these people, what alternative they will have for wellness, for dignified employment? Increase workers' resilience, better training, we give them some genetic intervention that they just do the same work but with stronger bones. It's also possible. Another intervention, alter work conditions, ergonomics, we hire larger workforce where the money could go, shorter work hours. We can compensate better. If wellness is a holistic concept, we'll say, well, let them get injured, but then we give those injured so much compensation, they will get with this money the wellness through other means, and we can improve rehabilitation. And this occupation brings me to a historical analogy from scientific management. That was, in a way, analogy to scientific personal medicine today. The roots might be in Bentham's proper management, we can have time to it, but scientific management, that was a very powerful movement, still influential today, in the beginning of 20th century, managed and monitored individual bodies. You see here how they followed workers in an iron mill, the movement of the hand while using a sledgehammer. And by these minute studies, collection of ongoing data to improve productivity, it used the most advanced technology of the day, and advocates believe it increased workers' safety, workers' satisfaction, in addition to increased productivity, and then they can get higher salaries, and price of goods goes go. It's like win-win game. But workers resisted scientific management because they hated being scrutinized, and because their action items were felt as quite burdensome and lacking in genuine scientific basis. They felt as individual objects rather than persons with agency. And it might be informing as an analogy to 4 principles of scientific management to think about the 4 Ps. Evidence-based work method, match each worker to the job that fits him or her. This is personalization. Continuously monitor workers' performance and decide accordingly. And proper division of labor between managers and workers. These say those behind the black box and those with health. And Louis Brandeis, the Chief Justice, believed a lot in this, although was a union supporter, and he called this efficiency by consent and democratization of labor. What lessons can we take from scientific management in a 5 minutes short historical analogy? That even if effective, certain features of scientific managers harmed wellness and self-esteem, at least some people do not gain happiness or personal fulfillment by complying with instructions they hardly understand and by acting for external rewards. They felt that scientific management is telling them what work satisfaction is. Unions always suspected that the true beneficiary is the factory owner, not the worker. The public expects the civic management to reduce cost of products or services, and this economic pressure reminds us this very strong emphasis today on the ultimate goal of the shareholder, even in biomedicine. Use of scientific methods and modes of expression does not necessarily qualify as valid science. We have to remember this. Precision medicine might embody tailorization of human bodies as lossy of biological systems, rather than biological machines. Alienation at work is like alienation of health. So we have issues to resolve. Potential conflict of interest, first by conceptual clarification, but then we need to expand participation internally, that people understand wellness and shape it in line with the values. This will reduce internal alienation. And we have to expand participation externally, that people participation in the shaping of society in the direction of personal medicine is going, reduces external alienation. In small letters, definition of alienation that they took from John Elster. So one example about external alienation, I'll go to the Good Samaritan, which is a formative parable in Western ethics, in which the lawyers, nomikos, ask Jesus, who is your neighbor? Who is your proximate? Written by ve'ahavta le'racha kamocha. Love thy proximate thyself. So logically, not everybody is proximate. So we already see the first lesson from this story, that the fundamental question in morality is the question of inclusion and exclusion. So there was this merchant on the way to Jerusalem that was attacked by robbers, left helpless and dying on the road. And people were passing by him and taking distance from him, because the word proximate in the Greek version, pleson, by distance. So if they are far enough, they are not obliged to. But the Samaritan, he left his business aside and saved the person and brought him to an inn. So when we ask, who is the proximate, there are three meta paradigms here. The first paradigm is the default answer of the Pharisaic. Precede social values. Those is close to you, is a Jew or a Levite, the ethnic, religious ideology, solidarity. Then we have the set of objective, universal, evidence-based criteria. In those days, it was objective distance. How many meters separate one body from the other? And I wish to highlight that the lesson taken by most people for centuries still isn't in line. They say, no, all humans are our neighbors. This is the humanistic answers. So it's still objective, evidence-based. The species, humanism. Animals, no such duty. Humans, yes. And I think that personalized medicine vision is still falling here, because instead of distancing meters and bodies, the vision of personalized medicine creates a huge map in which distance is measured by molecules, by genes, by the statistical chances that you may develop something or may respond to something, or there are enough people of your condition. This is the molecularization of humanity. But it is still this paradigm that only better refined. But when we read the gospel, we see something interesting, because at the end, Jesus is asking the nomikos, the lawyer, which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? And the nomikos replied, the one who had mercy on him. And this is really mind-boggling, that I was trying to search theological books and historical books. He doesn't say that the merchant was the neighbor of the Samaritan, which is what most people think. He doesn't say it. And we'd have no answer whatsoever at the moral level why the Samaritan responded and whether he should have responded. It's worth another topic where spirituality and ethics converge. It only says that once the Samaritan has saved him, he became the neighbor of the merchant. And this is a normal paradigm here. This is the true lesson that we should take, I think, that moral choice makes proximities and persons shape society. This is highest level of participation. And it's not just at this abstract level, because he took him to the inn and he paid money to the innkeeper, and the end of personalized precision medicine is reaching beyond the empiricist screen and financial Excel sheets. And we should understand, if we want to end this in a romantic tune, that 2 inns later, it's not impossible that this merchant married the daughter of the innkeeper. So we have genetics in, and we have this inclusive value, we have a vision of humanity. So, what could be the conclusions of my talk? Certain aspects of personalized medicine might cause iatrogenic harm to people's sense of well-being and self-esteem. At least some people would hate monitoring, some would love it, but all deserve healthcare whether they like it or not. Personalized medicine ethos might shape wellness and value rather than respond to them, thus creating alienations between doctor and patient. It may happen. It's not essentially in it, is one of the questions posed, but it may happen. Between persons and their health, that I do not really understand fully what's going on with my body. It's like navigating with Waze, and we navigate our healthcare with an externalized system, and between people and their healthcare systems and society. There are issues of dual loyalty, as we said. Who is the ultimate beneficiary? The shareholders, patient. Who are the patients? Because if everybody is patient or patient in waiting a customer, then everybody has the same voice. And in the restaurant tradition, we have some preference to vulnerable people whom we recognize as patients. There's a risk of erosion in recognition of the special status and moral desert of the needy if we are all part of the system, if we're all needy in a certain way. The IT sector maybe is the one to make the most money out of it. The Google deal, or what Shoshana Zuboff, who had been cited for services as surveillance capitalism. Personal medicine envisions a network of proximities defining individuals by their statistical proximities to others in terms of biomarkers. This builds directly on civil status, and almost all countries today, at least those with certain level of income, your civil status entails some desire to some level of healthcare. System medicine should encompass people as persons with agency who conscientiously create moral proximities. And this conscientious choice requires understanding, and thick understanding and narrative-based understanding, from which biological links with NSU. We have to drive biology by value, and then can be served by medicine. The Samaritan in us may bridge socioeconomic and genetic gaps, thus complementing and steering personalized medicine. As the stronger Samaritans we are less fearful of visions of personalized medicine, because our values and human values come first. And they steer personalized medicine in society, especially civil status, which means rights, duties, and liberties in relation to healthcare, including acceptance that others may have priorities. And we see our joint duty not as customers who have the majority, but those who have the duty to serve the most needed. This is true especially in relation to healthcare. Thank you very much.